Mark, we might get straight to the topic on most people's lips. Did you watch the interview with Matty Randell last night?
I did, actually, yes.
What are your thoughts?
Look, Matty, I guess, had the opportunity to put his side of the story across, but you know, apart from that, there's not much else I can say. It's a management issue that's been dealt with by management, and it's not something I can concern myself with.
What was it like I mean, you obviously work with him. I don't know how close you are personally, but you've worked with him quite closely over the years, I would assume. Seeing a bloke pour his soul out like that on national TV, how did that tug at your heartstrings?
Oh no, I think it was probably good for Matthew to have an opportunity to say his side of the story, and I think now that that's done, it's out there, and like I said, it is what it is, and people will make their own decisions on it, I guess, from listening to what Matthew has to say.
Have you changed your opinion on Matthew in the last week?
No.
Do you think, have you sort of said goodbye to him from the club? Was there a bit of a farewell moment personally between the two of you?
No. You know, I guess you would understand that Matthew's had a pretty tumultuous period over the last 48 hours, and I haven't spoken to him.
What's the feeling amongst the playing group after last night?
I haven't really had a chance to canvass that, to be quite honest. We've arrived this morning, we've had our review meeting, we've gone out and trained, so yeah, I haven't had a chance to make any judgment.
Did what he say last night change anything from what you initially perhaps thought on Friday when it all happened?
I guess once again, it's the first time I'd heard Matthew's side of the story. It's you know, you understand that we've been relatively busy here doing what we do as well. On Friday we were preparing for the game of football, and then over the weekend obviously we were playing a game, and I really hadn't had a chance to catch up. So I'm very much like everyone else that watched it on TV for the first time. So yeah, I guess I was able to take that in, but at the same time, it's not my role to be passing judgment on that, and the club has done what they've seen fit to do, and that's it.
Do you think those comments will stick to the club? How easily do you think the club will be able to move on from those?
I think they'll be able to move on quite quickly. I think that the way it was dealt with was for that very reason, so that so it didn't appear to taint the club. And I guess one of the things that I drew out of it, I saw a comment that Andrew McLeod made, which I think resonates really strongly with the footy club and our supporters. And Andrew, who's well respected by everyone that knows football, talked about how he felt in this club, and that he felt very comfortable, and at no time did he feel as if it's a racist football club, and that he still is involved in this club today. So I think that is the person who you know, most people will look at and really respect his views on that topic.
So you're satisfied the club will be able to move on and it won't stick to
I am.
Matt's sort of final underlining message was that the worst thing that can come out of this is that people he knows and he's close to think he's a racist. Do you think he's a racist?
I don't know.
So do you think he's been hardly done by them?
Not for me to say whether he's been hardly done by or not. It's the footy club. There's people in place that make those decisions, not me. You know, we don't care. I'm a football coach. I'm not a human resources person at the Adelaide Football Club.
But you are a human being who has opinions on things that are happening in his world.
But I'm not going to make comments. It's not my place. I don't have I don't have all the details, and I don't have I don't have the qualifications to be able to sit down and say this is what we should be doing. It's that's why we have boards and CEOs who have been through these situations, and they are qualified and the best people to make the decisions, not people who are getting the news off the TV and reading it in the paper.
Will you seek to catch up with Matt at any stage, or?
Yeah, I think at some stage, if there's an opportunity to, yes, I might give him a call. But in my position, really, I didn't spend a huge amount of time with Matthew last year as the caretaker coach. I was involved a bit more than I had been as an assistant. So yeah, I'll look to say good day. But you know, it's not like I was ultra close to Matthew.
So it's not I mean, you wouldn't try and catch up with him any more than you would have anyway.
That's right.
On to footy matters picks, Rutten and Douglas, are they looking alright for round one in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I think Truck is probably the one that's missed the most training. So saw Ben run today and was really impressive. So in terms of fitness, it looks really good for him. I guess the thing we need to do is make sure he gets plenty of touch. He hasn't done a whole lot of training, so we'll endeavour to get him to touch the ball as often as we can over the next 10 to 12 days. And we're dealing with a guy who's a very experienced footballer, so he knows what he has to do to play well, and I'm pretty confident he'll come up and perform strongly for us.
Do you almost look to give him a run at West Adelaide?
Yeah, we'll discuss that this week, and there's an argument for it and against it, so we'll go through that process and see what's best for Ben in his preparation. So that'll be something we discuss. And Dougie, really confident with Dougie. He was really cautious with him and probably could have played last week, but just wanted to make sure that he was absolutely cherry ripe for round one. We rate Richard really highly. He's a really valuable member, so I'd expect that Richard to play as well.
So he's a bit more advanced with his conditioning?
Yeah, he was more tightness than anything, so we've just been ultra cautious with that.
Hamstring tightness.
Apart from risk of injury, is there any other reasons against having a run at sample level this week?
With Truck? No. One of the things that you need to be aware of as well is the SNFL clubs. The likelihood of Ben playing much footy this year for West Adelaide is fairly low. So if Ben goes back, it's the likelihood he's probably going to play in the reserves for West Adelaide. So you then start to weigh up, is there much benefit in him doing that? So it's really a fitness issue. And then the flip side of that is we're really confident that our fitness staff here have put him through his paces quite strongly and that they've done a really good job. So they're the type of things we'll talk about. But we all know that you can be as fit as you like on the training track, but a game actually makes you blow and you do some sort of involuntary movements as well. So there's a case for both. We'll talk through that.
Can you remember a better build up to a season for the Adelaide Footy Club? Having lost basically no injuries, I think. It seems like everything's falling into line.
Yeah, look, it's if you look back last year, we had a pretty good build up last year too. We had a really big win against Fremantle. Round one, we lost 5 guys through injury: Paul Pleasure, Sloan, McKay. There's 2 others as well. So things were tracking reasonable. I think we were talking about how few injuries we had at this time last year as well. So. Having said that, it has gone relatively smoothly. So we're in a good position, and we're looking forward to round one because that's what you do all the training for, is the premiership season. I guess the form we've showed and the ability to be able to play as many players as we have has been a real bonus for us. So we're aware we've had a good run, but having said that, we think we've managed that quite well as well.
You got a pass mark yet for the season?
It's really difficult. It's a bit like me asking you, have you picked your top 8? How do you rate Carlton at the moment? How do you rate Richmond at the moment? How much form do you put on the pre-season competition? Clubs approach it differently. So until you look at some football, a month or two of the home and away season, you really don't get an indication of how much sides have improved, how much of Richmond improved, how much of the Kangaroos improved, are Sydney better, are St Kilda going to be better or worse? There's 5 rookie coaches, how is that going to affect the mix? So, I know that we're confident that we will improve this year, but, we can't control what the other teams do, so it's very difficult to be able to say how it's going to pan out during the year.
Do you set yourself goals though, like say we want to be 3-1 after a month, we want to be sort of 6 wins by the bye? Or?
No, I don't. It's just not something we've done. Sometimes why put limits on it? Who's to say that 6 wins by the bye? I don't even know what round our bye is, but what is it, 9 or? You don't know either. 11, yeah.
11,
So what happens if we've won 6 after 7 rounds? That blows that straight out of the water. We don't try for the next 4 weeks because we've already reached our goal. So there's a whole range of things that we just want to make sure that all the stuff we've worked on pre-season, we just keep trying to refine that as best as possible. Brendan's really clear in his mind about the way he wants to play, and we've seen, I guess, some glimpses of that, and it's looked quite good for us. So there's also been some other stuff that we feel as if we've got some improving to do. So we just keep trying as best we can to work on those refinements.
Is Chris Knights in your best 22 at the moment, Vix?
Best 22, we're about to pick in a couple of weeks' time or 10 days' time. So at the moment we've got, I would suggest, 26 to 28 players who are going to be vying for those spots. And we're pretty keen to get Chris to play a full game of footy on the weekend, which he did and did reasonably well. So his training form and he'll come into really strong consideration because he has some things that make him a really valuable player for this football club, and that not a lot of other players have.
Where do you see his best role?
Oh, where he's played in previous years, that plays that sort of high half forward role. He's played a little bit more time in the midfield in the pre-season. We saw him play in the midfield a little bit late last year, which we quite like. So one thing we know about Chris is he's got an enormous engine and he's got enormous power, both in his running and in his kicking. So, they're the type of things that we want to see on display as often as we can.
I guess from a club perspective, it's probably a good thing that I guess there's so much competition for spots that a guy like him is no longer considered safe. Well,
you could look through our team and I'm not sure if you've sat down and tried to pick a best 22. It's a really tough job at the moment. There's, some roles up forward with, the form of Lynch and McKernan and Walker and Tippett and Paul Pleasure. That's going to be a tough job to try and fit all those guys in. You look at the smaller forward roles with Callanan and Wright and Petrenko and Kerridge has been outstanding. So there's a whole range of positions and down back, the young guys that have been tried down there haven't really done too much wrong either. So, for Rutten to come in and Douglas to come in, some people have to miss out, as well as the squad being trimmed from 25 to 22. So I'd say there's going to be 6 to 8 disappointed people come round one.
As you say, you get to pick the best 22, and you're saying round one last year, 5 injuries. Is too much made out of the pre-season and no cup?
I don't know. Yeah, I saw a graphic last night that said the last 4 years the winner of the NAB Cup's made the top 4, so that's a reasonably good form line. And we're a team that over the last 2 years really haven't got into the habit of winning. We're a young side, so I think that it's a good thing that our guys have been put in some situations where there's been some tight matches and they've been able to fight their way through it. And perform really strongly. So I think winning form's good form for mine, and I think we saw Essendon last year use the NAB Cup as a bit of a springboard for their season in terms of they were coming from a fair way back and they made the final and they really got off to a really good start to the season. So for a young side, it engenders a lot of confidence. So I think it's a good thing.
So top 4's pass, Mark.
I didn't say that.